Hello, I'm the Anime Viewer 66. Now, for those of you that have been watching my channel for a while now, you probably already know that I've done a review of Soul Eater in the past. But, sadly, it's been taken down. But, since it's been replaying on Toonami, and I've been rewatching the episodes, I've come across with some different viewpoints here and there, but it is still a great anime, and so I figured, hey, why not do a redoing of it for the Halloween season, because after all, this anime is incredibly Halloween based. I'm serious. From the art style to the story plot, everything seems like something out of an R.L. Stine novel. This story is pretty dang cool. Within the world of Soul Eater, there are a lot of threats to humanity, namely witches, which are pretty self-explanatory, and quiche and eggs, which are evil people who have become so evil in their time that they have now become demons, basically, that wish simply to devour the souls of humans. Now, you might be asking, who is our good guy in this to fight these evil creatures? None other than the Grim Reaper and his servants. That's right, in this anime, the Grim Reaper is the good guy. How cool is that? Now, the Grim Reaper employs a grand number of his servants called weapons and meisters. A weapon is basically someone who can turn themselves into a weapon, and a meister is someone who wields said weapon, and when their souls combine into one, they can create some of the coolest attacks in anime. Seriously, this show with these characters are pretty awesome, and even though there is a lot of them, I'm just going to focus on just the main characters for now, even though there are a lot of side characters to talk about that are really cool as well. We'll just focus on the main characters for this one. First up is Maka, who is the meister of this team, and Soul, who is the weapon. Maka is a pretty straightforward, well-educated girl who happens to be the daughter of both an expert meister and a deaf scythe. Now, to be honest, she doesn't really like her dad that much, but you'll see why in the anime if you watch it later on. Basically, her parents had a divorce and she took her mother's side. As for Soul, he's the character that always wants to look cool and probably does a little bit too much to try to act cool. But even though at the beginning of this anime I did think, whoa, this guy is just trying way too hard to try to make everyone think he's cooler than he actually is. But as the anime goes on, you kind of figure out, okay, this is actually a cool character, like legitly cool. Like, he would give his life for his partner in a minute. So yeah, pretty cool. Now our next team up is Tsubaki, which is the weapon, and Blackstar, which is the meister. Basically, Blackstar is a way too into himself kind of guy that basically no one wants to be a partner with except Tsubaki. She is the only one that has the patience to deal with him. And I will say, as the anime goes on, you start to see the backstory of both Tsubaki and Blackstar, you start to feel for these characters. And the next team is Liz and Patty and Deaf the Kid. Deaf the Kid is the meister of this little team, and basically he has a gimmick of being way too into symmetry. Seriously, this guy has literally just run away from battle because something wasn't symmetrical, or something was so symmetrical he had to gaze at its glory. This guy is weird, but he is counteracted by his two basically weapons, which are Liz and Patty, which are basically your normal everyday girls. One is a bit more, I suppose you could say, ditzy than the other. Their backstory is pretty interesting, and Deaf the Kid, even though he can be annoying at times, does have his moments of pure awesomeness, I will admit. And when it comes to actually battling, even though he can be distracted, he is pretty cool. Next up is Krona. Krona is basically one of my favorite characters because of how sad his backstory is. I mean, seriously, just sad. I shed tears for this poor character. Basically, the thing about this anime is that they have a fun time with giving characters some very sad backstories, particularly with Tsubaki and Blackstar at the beginning of this. But as you go on, you realize that probably one of the saddest stories is indeed poor Krona. Basically, he had a weapon named Ragnarok infused within his being, and his mother, being a witch, which led him to many evil deeds, told him he had to take the souls of many humans to try to become a Kishin. Yeah. Also, Ragnarok, being the jerk sword he is, bullies Krona like all get out. Krona also has the ability to harden his blood at will, so that is pretty cool too. Last, but certainly not least, is Dr. Stein. Now, I would talk about his partner, which is, of course, Death Scythe, but considering he's technically the weapon of the Grim Reaper, and there ain't much else to say about him except that Death Scythe is a womanizer, basically, there ain't much else to say about him. But as for Dr. Stein, oh, there's a lot to say about him. Dr. Stein is one of my favorite characters in this anime. It's pretty simply defined of who he is based off of at the beginning when you hear his name, Dr. Stein, we all know. But throughout this anime, especially in the second part of this anime where you have the whole weird madness going on, this character becomes one of the most creepy and yet coolest characters ever. From his, even at the beginning, from his powers to his design to the way he talks, from either his, and even his way of always wanting to dissect things is so deliciously creepy. It is bloody awesome. Seriously, this character, they could make a whole separate series just about this character and I would watch it. He is that bloody cool. As for the art and animation, the animation is pretty cool. There's hardly a scene that looks out of place, and when it comes down to actually fighting, oh, they go all out. As for the art, that is where we get into the Halloween season, my friends. Oh, this art style is so much Nightmare Before Christmas, you will go crazy after you see it, like, Nightmare Before Christmas in anime form! Not so much in plot-wise, but in art-wise at least. Seriously, that is a bloody cool art style. At the beginning, I didn't really like it because I was thinking, what in the world is this? But after you watch it for a little bit, you're like, okay, it is pretty cool. So at the end of the day, I choose to give this anime 5 stars out of 5. I am the Anime Viewer 66. Thank you, and good night.